man, it's a beautiful Monday morning here, and I am extra happy because this morning I got to say hi to our 1 day old kittens. Yesterday morning, Sunday, we woke up to mewing from just bare, like as the birth was happening, and I actually got a video of kitty number 5 being born. And oh my gosh, they are a beautiful litter. But you will not see them until later today, and Jim will explain why they're not yet up on Instagram. But we have kind of want help naming a couple of them. We have 2 orange ones. We'll do this tomorrow with better photographs. But remember when Donald Trump said, if North Korea continues, blah, 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 they will be met with fire and fury. Well, that's the name of the 2 orange kittens in the litter. One has a big white spike on his forehead, and the other a white mask that looks like it's flaming up. They're gorgeous. All these kittens from the tortoiseshell mama, and I think some fathers that were not part of her litter, fortunately. So we've got that. We've got another litter on the way, but we've got a couple quick announcements. Of course, Stephen is still locked up, our friend Stephen McClure. So we have a comment contest related to that Mercedes, our co-host today for Mental Health Monday, will be announcing in just a few minutes. And we've got 2 great guests coming up this week, at least 2 that we just booked. We were holding today for one of them because she's so important. That's Aria DeMezzo, one of the Crypto 6, will be joining us tomorrow, however. And then Augie Nas will be joining us on Wednesday. Let's talk about Agenda 21. And then on Friday, I don't know if this is too early to announce, it is not quite confirmed, but we're going to be talking to Bart Womack of Eden Grow Systems again every other Friday, with Jay Nygaard, the turbine guy, every other Friday as part of our Good News FINA Friday shows. And it looks like we're going to be getting an Eden Grow System kind of greenhouse going here. Little early to announce, but it's all preliminary in the works, and I'm happy to have Bart on. He was a great guest, very popular with the audience, talking about Eden Grow Systems and off-grid farming. And really, I mean, what's cutting edge about this isn't just giving people the tools. I mean, my fantasy has been, and I used to talk more about, taco copter drones delivering, dropping food and weed out of the sky, and 3D printing off your fingertip and crazy wizard shit like that. But one of my related fantasies for what's coming on the horizon with technology is that pretty soon you're going to be able to like when you buy a house or build a house, go online and order a food system box, and a truck comes up and drops it, and you hook it up to water and turn it on and throw in some seeds and program it, and it basically spits out food, or you go and you can harvest whatever you want. We are basically on the verge of that with Eden Grow Systems. So I'm really excited to be working with Bart and his team to help further that, because and what they're doing is already leapfrogging out of my petty fantasy, because they're building that. They don't have it at the production of just drop it off on a truck and it's all fully automated, but they could be. This is the company that could get us there. But they're already looking at these self-contained systems that will work in outer space, full hydroponics, circle of life. And it's sort of like all in line with homesteading and off-grid living and being independent, sticking it to the man and saying, we don't need your centralized systems. We don't need your money. We got some exciting crypto stories today as well. But without further ado, we've got executive producer, Jim Freedom at the helm today. Producer Jim.
Yo, how's it going?
You have a good weekend?
You didn't have kittens. Yeah, it's not bad. It was pretty busy, slaving away.
It wasn't as good as mine. I had kittens.
No. It wasn't as good as yours. I can't wait to see the pictures. It's not up yet because you realized it right before the show, and Mercedes was like, "You got 6 minutes to post those pictures and be back," and you're like, "I don't want to risk it."
We'll just tease it. Well, there's 3 other kittens in the litter aside from the 2 orange tabbies, Fire and Fury. We don't really have names for them yet, but they're all gorgeous. One of them looks brindle. The other one is like mostly black with hints of stripes. And then one of them is like full like black and gray tiger stripes, but mostly black, almost brindle looking. Really interesting. As kittens, you can kind of barely tell, they change their markings significantly, especially when they're. I mean, a kitten that's born as a black cat might grow up and be a black cat. an orange tabby is going to grow up and be an orange tabby, but a lot of them shift their patterns, in their first few weeks, as we saw with this last litter. So I'm really excited to watch these guys grow up now. We'll have a lot of pictures from them soon.
For sure. Awesome. It's going to be good. Videos too, I'm sure. I know you got video of it going.
Well, I don't know. So, Jim, I wanted to ask you this as producer also before, because if I release like just one Instagram post, and you can put video clips in with them. I have video of the actual birth of kitty number 5. Is that too gross? Do you not? Is that like weird?
Oh, come on. Yeah, I mean, maybe put a disclaimer at the top or something, but come on, who doesn't want,
Video of live birth?
Yeah, video of live birth video. Yeah.
Cat live birth video? Just
yeah. Feline live birth video.
For the few people who would be squeamish about that.
I suppose, yeah. But I mean it's cool, I think. It's
It's not even like a human birth video where you go, oh well, there's nudity involved, and people are still squeamish about that. Yes. But it's a cat giving birth to a kitten. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little. There's afterbirth involved. It's all wet, But to me, it's just like, it's beautiful. I don't know. Yeah. All right, so I'll just post that, and I'll put it. Maybe I'll put a disclaimer somewhere attached to it.
We'll warn people before we put it live on the show too. We'll say, if you don't want to watch a cat give birth live, turn your
close
way.
Your eyes for 10 seconds.
Yeah, close your eyes. I'll let you know.
All right, what else do we have for promos?
Everyone should join that public Telegram chat that's on the bottom of your screen right there, t.me/Adam versus the man. That's a public Telegram messenger group that everyone is welcome to. You don't have to do anything. You can just click on it and join it and be a part of the conversation and get all the show notes, etc. If you want to be cool like the winners of our contests in the past, and one that we may find today when Mercedes gives her contest, you can win access to the private producers club chat that we also have on Telegram. It's a good time. I love that group. We're always sharing not only links and stuff that we may talk about on the show, but we're also giving our opinions about it, and short form discussions go back and forth. So I think that's what's cool about it. If you want to be a part of that conversation, you can join through AdamVersusTheMan.com. You can click on Patreon. We have $1, $5, $10, and $50 a month support levels. $10 a month is the sweet spot. That'll get you access to that private producers club. And also, once you're a member of that private producers club, or just being a better patron, you can go to our shop at AdamVersusTheMan.com, and you can shop anything you want, and you'll get 15% off and free shipping on everything at the store. We got plenty of stuff. There's a load more button at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to check it out. You can also go up to this button right here and go to the latest, so you can see the newer items that we've been posting to keep up to date. After that, for more discounts, visit cigarfederation.com. They got a great selection of cigars, including CBD infused ones. You can use promo code ADAM10 to get 10% off there, off your entire order. So that's a great deal. Definitely check that out. And yes, and then after that, he was talking about soon you will be seeing the videos on Instagram. If you're curious where you can find that on Instagram, just open up your Instagram and do a search for @theGardenOfFreedom. That's where you're going to find all these pictures and videos of everything that goes down up there in Gardenia with Adam, and his recruitment posters and anything else that's pertinent to Gardenia up there. So keep your eyes out for those cat videos on that. Next, as he pointed out, our guest tomorrow is going to be from thecrypto6.com. You can visit this website ahead of time today to donate. Use these QR codes to donate in different various cryptocurrencies to help them get all their legal fees and anything else they could possibly need to get out of this situation. We can help them out. So we'll hear more about that tomorrow. Visit thecrypto6.com. And then after that, go to gogreenenergyonline.com. Great website. We got Mr. Nygaard on every other Friday, as Adam said, and he's the person that gave him a wind power turbine, just like this one that you see in the picture. His Instagram has a video of them actually physically putting it up in Gardenia. But if you're looking to get one of your own, or you're looking into solar power, or you want to find out more about zero energy homes, use gogreenenergyonline.com. Great website, great resources. Educate yourself and get involved. Thank you very much.
All right, let's get co-host Mercedes on here for Mental Health Monday and to announce our comment contest.
Hello, sorry.
Good morning, Mercedes.
Good morning. While we were doing promos, I might have been on Facebook because I'm off my social media cleanse I was on. Because I do social media cleanses. I'm a spamming meme lord. You go to my page for giggles. Yeah. What'd you do? Toddler's having technical difficulties today. But there's a meme I'm just giggling at, and it's like mental health astrological because we like that. We like star shit. And it says, me, the moon controls the tides and the human psyche. Wolves know that, and that's why they howl at her. It's a tribune. Therapist. Well, let's talk about your father. Me. No. No, see, funny. But also somebody commented on my post. I teased that I was going to be on for Mental Health Monday today since, I'm back on social. And Cassie wants to know, do you know why the podcast episodes haven't been updated on Spotify since December 2020? So
I don't know. It's a question for Jim and CJ.
But I said, I don't know, but I'll ask live. Because thanks. But we have the comment contest today. Before we forget, because this has been one that we've had in queue for a while, and it's the nicest things you can say to Steven's woman today, to her, the nicest things to her about like support. Because what we need, hold on, sweetheart, what do you want? Am I going to have to multitask? Oh, we're tracing letters. That's why she's frustrated. She's 2. So today I want you to give me the best supportive, uplifting comments, because what people forget, people focus on the criminal and they forget that they are people. And they focus on the crime and they don't forget that they are people and that they have families and that those families are watching their family member and have probably been there saying, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Or, hey, do you think that's a good idea? Like libertarians are ought to do. It's not enabling, but we let people make their own decisions, whether they're good or not. Like, it's just, we let people fuck around and find out. And that's not always good. And sometimes the state uses that against us. So today I want you to be nice. I want you to be her support system online, because it's hard when you don't have a support system and someone you love is on the inside and you can't.
Jennifer and Steven's, just to give a recap.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer is Steven's fiance. I think I misidentified her as his wife on the show last week.
Soon to be wife.
It was Thursday before last. So a week and a half ago now, Steven turned himself in on what we believe are year-old warrants related to his civil disobedience hosting Easter services as a pastor at his church in Georgia. And we're still working on getting the legal documents to see exactly what he's been charged with, what the police reports related to this are, to see how serious the accusations are. But he was denied bail when he was expecting to be bailed out the next morning, or at least be approved for bail or bond. And he's basically found himself now in a legal process that's going to take at least a few more days before he gets released. And his fiance has been a great point of contact and assistant in helping him handle this legal situation. First, they're recording him turning himself in and coordinating with our team, making sure that we do what we can to make sure he's getting lawyers and knows that we can raise money for him if necessary. Hopefully, it's just to get this bail bond and initial documentation issue covered, where it does sort of make sense to pay for an attorney. And I really hate it when it's like, shit, yeah, it's definitely not a pro se situation. But when you're denied bail, you want someone who can talk to the judge, who speaks that language, who can convince them that you're not a threat and say, yeah, like, he should be released on bail. And for the documentation, just going to be a lot faster and possibly something that they would deny you, as we've experienced in Wise County, Texas, being denied documents for a legal case, or being told, well, you can come in every other Friday from 3:30 p.m. to 3:36 p.m. and you can look at them in person, but you can't take pictures. That's how we make our documents available to you, because we believe in due process. Yeah, it might be some bullshit like that. we are getting a lawyer to just make a request or motion for discovery, be able to get everything, would be worth a couple $1,000s. Hopefully this turns into another fun case that Stephen can beat in a pro se situation, possibly even have a lawsuit against the agents of the state involved.
I am not a lawyer, and I'm not going to comment on this case because none of my comments are productive or will help anything right now. I'll say this right now. My grandfather passed away of COVID a few weeks ago. I've kept it pretty private just because I've been grieving pretty hard. So since I'm in the grieving process, that's where my brain is. Like, it's good to be aware of your mental health. One, it's good to be aware of how you grieve and how you process so that you can do it in a healthy way. Because in my case, I had to build these healthy tendencies. They weren't inherited. They were not given to me inherently from a healthy family, per se. It is learned behavior is often having to be done, and whatever, it's fine. So, comment contest. Be nice to Jennifer. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that's all I have. And then the comments are just keep coming in. Moose Girl says denied bail. What the fuck? Yeah, he was denied bail. And we don't know anything. We have been in contact with him though, and so we know he's okay and that he's not being mistreated. He wants books. He wants to read. Other than that, I'm multitasking now because somebody wants to play Fruit Ninja, but it's 2. So as Moose Girl said, what is it? Toddlers are a handful.
All right. Well, Mercedes, thank you for putting together a great mental health block for today's show. We've got 5 stories, I think, lined up for that when we get through our COVID block. So stay on those comments, be getting them up. Mercedes will be looking for nicest things to say about Jennifer, soon to be Jennifer McClure, Stephen's fiance, while he's unexpectedly enjoying a government-induced, taxpayer-funded spiritual retreat in Georgia for a year-old Warren. But without further ado, let's take our COVID vitamins and dispense some misleading medical advice, shall we? All right, we got a ton of stories lined up today, catching up for COVID. But before I get into that, I do want to share a little bit about the jokes and because it's become kind of an inside joke that we haven't really explained for a while. A couple things though. Misleading medical advice. That's why we get censored on YouTube for talking about COVID. And I'm not talking about anything other than what I see in mainstream media sources. I mean, for the most part, I don't. It's really just everything I talk about. I'm not like I got some secret unofficial lab report or statistical analysis about what's. No, I'm not. Just interpreting what's going on, and this is what we get censored for. And one of the funny things about this, and this is really becoming a more understood and commonly accepted part of the corona narrative, is that it's not just affecting old people, which is enough. We got to protect old people, but no, people who are obese and unhealthy and sedentary are the ones who are most affected by COVID. And you go, oh, shocking, right? Yeah, well, it's going to be true about any disease, but particularly with this, it is such a minor thing that if you think about it as something on par with the flu, well, yeah, that's who that affects too. And that they're using that as the excuse to conduct all of the forced unemployment crisis, the eviction crisis, the lockdowns, the shutdowns, the mask mandates, the $1.9 trillion was the latest individualized expenditure from the federal government that we can point to as having anything to do with this. But the COVID vitamins, why do we call cannabis COVID vitamins? The myth about being a fat, lazy stoner is just a myth. And we now have the scientific reports, the data, the irrefutable proof that the average daily pot smoker has a thinner waistline and is healthier than the average not daily pot smoker. And so if you want to be thin and healthy and beat the coronavirus, take your COVID vitamins with Adam versus the Man. Or don't, but just be healthy overall, and the odds of corona killing you or even giving you symptoms at all become so laughably negligible as to just with this whole thing, the dark cloud hanging over everyone's heads right now with COVID. I'm at like a point of resignation almost. Acceptance. I've moved through the stages of grief, so to speak. We've gone, oh yes, COVID happened. Oh my gosh, this sucks. Oh wow, government, spasm of statism, this great surge in government power all over the world. To just being like, yeah, you look back and go, well, at least it's not a war. Given the circumstances, it was going to happen anyway. Eventually, there was a perfect storm of bullshit that led to this whole COVIDiocy explosion, this new layer of medical tyranny, if you will. And I don't think it's going to happen again. Like, remember at the beginning of this, the big questions were, how long is this going to last, and could it happen again? And we're not talking about the virus because, of course, that the regular event in the global family's human petri dish. But we're going to get better at dealing with all manner of such viruses one way or another. And the worst it can get is getting bullied into hazmat suit world, where we all have to wear hazmat suits. And there's a Forever Master story today. Oh my God. I was trying to end this COVID block with like the most depressing story possible. And they just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I was like, oh, there are people who think that we're going to be wearing masks forever here. Okay. And to those people, that's their high-tech answer to the new world's biohazards of nature. Okay, all right. I can envision a world where the virus gets really, or the human petri dish gets so toxic that, yeah, I would be wearing a hazmat suit outside of my family unit. All right, that's possible. But you can do that, even if it was that bad, you can do it all without government, far more humanely, more effectively, without the negative consequences. And we're going to come, oh my God, we got stuff about that today too, about suicide and mental health stuff that we're going to come back to with Mercedes as well. But all right, to jump into the headlines, the Washington Post from MSN, a spring wave of coronavirus crashes across 38 states as hospitalizations increase. The coronavirus pandemic in the U.S. has turned into a patchwork of regional hotspots, with some states hammered by a surge of infections and hospitalizations, even as others have seen the crisis begin to ease. The spring wave of the pandemic has driven hospitalizations above 47,000, the highest since March 4th. This is what they want to scare you with now. Yeah, we had a few headlines like this. The next, the Sun, the U.S. Sun, get a whiff, how the garlic breath test can tell if you're likely to catch COVID. Yes, breath shaming, I suppose. Using a garlic breath test can help you establish how likely you are to catch COVID-19, one expert has claimed. Since the start of the pandemic, the government has urged people to remember the hands, face, space motto. The slogan was deployed to billboards and television adverts with the hope that people would continue to wash their hands, cover their face with a mask or covering, and adhere to social distancing measures. On March 29, the government changed its messaging to hands, face, space, fresh air, as it urged people to not gather inside. Consultant virologist at the Leicester, that's probably not how you pronounce that, Royal Infirmary, Dr. Julian Tang, has penned a study urging governments and health leaders to focus their efforts on airborne transmission. Speaking to Sky News this morning, he said the government's messaging should focus on space, space, hands. We got to get the formula right sooner or eventually. We'll try every combination until we nail it and we beat this virus.
That mean we go to Mars to avoid it? Space, space.
But where's the garlic test thing here? I want want to get the garlic breath part of the story.
Garlic breath can be used as a weapon, and I've done it before.
Yeah, thanks, Joey. All right. Where's the garlic thing? It's like really buried in the story. He also stated the COVID-19 could, this is one of the experts that are quoting the story, could become a seasonal virus, and added that Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been correct when he claimed earlier this week that lockdown measures have done the bulk of the work when it comes to driving infection rates down. And this is the actual sort of legitimate, flatten the curve barrier. So if you want, if this is a new flu kind of thing coming in, and you just let it go rampant, it's going to, overwhelm hospitals and, medical. And even that, was somewhat of a myth. But even with that, giving that credibility, we're a year and a month from 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Anyway, so can you play this the video from the Sun article here, Jim? Because that's the part that has the garlic breath test. Can we play videos from the Sun? Producer Jim, are you there? Should I play it?
It was loading.
Oh, okay. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The garlic. No audio. Do you want me to play it here, Jim? Internet connection issues.
Yeah, right. Sorry. I played the wrong video and it's trying to reload the other one. You can play it if you want. I'm trying to get it.
No, Mike wants it now. Moving on. From Bloomberg. Unused vaccines are piling up across the U.S. as some regions resist. Many U.S. states and cities have a growing surplus of COVID-19 vaccines, a sign that in some places demand is slowing before a large percentage of the population has been inoculated, according to an analysis by Bloomberg News. Now, there's one other thing that came up this weekend, and Joey and I actually watched a video, and I don't want to rumor monger too much, but this is just something, again, emphasizing the kind of wait and see approach. Like, and I've heard defendants of these vaccines saying, well, we rushed getting them ready, but we didn't rush testing them. They went through all the normal, double blind, 6 month, et cetera, tests. But with then why are they surprised that blood clotting is an issue, that they have to be taken off the market, that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at least had made headlines last week with that issue. And what we're seeing is this rumor that's it's really like, and this is one of those things that when the official channels of information stop this kind of information from being properly collated and analyzed, it's kind of all we have to go off of right now. But the rumor is that the way that these mRNA vaccines work, and this is normal vaccine stuff, right? You give someone an mRNA vaccine, and this has been a historical issue with some vaccines in the past. There have been some that have been taken out of circulation entirely, because when you give someone that RNA, the mRNA, as part of the vaccine, and their immune system makes a response, that the RNA is part of viral shedding. And this is part of how diseases are transmitted naturally anyway. And it's possible to give someone a vaccine and then they're shedding actual virus RNA in such a way that can lead someone else to get sick from it. Now, that's not what we're seeing. We're not seeing although you wouldn't, because most of the healthy people aren't getting the vaccine. If my mom got the vaccine because she's more concerned about getting it, and now she's shedding the virus, and then I get it from her that way, it's like, well, I probably wouldn't notice anyhow, because I'm, by COVID standards, young and healthy. So with this now, there's what the rumors are that it's in line with the blood clotting side effects, that women who are around people who have gotten the vaccine, who are shedding elements of viral mRNA, that is causing them to have period issues, in line with blood clotting issues with menstruation and passing blood and clotting with that. And so you go, is there a relationship here? We don't know. But again, one more, like, and this would be so funny, right? If it was turned on its head, if people who got the vaccine were toxic and contagious, and those of us who weren't were like the organic, clean ones here. But yeah, you just like, there's a virus out there that 99.9% odds, if you get exposed to it, will negligibly or not at all affect you, versus a vaccine that will probably give you a day's worth of flu symptoms and guarantee that you now have the virus in your system. Or at least, I'm sorry, so you don't have the virus, you have the mRNA from the vaccine of the virus in your system. Right. So don't worry, though. Don't worry. No matter what medical quirks come out of this human misadventure, there will be a big pharma company there with another answer. So CNBC with our next headline, Pfizer CEO says third COVID vaccine dose likely needed within 12 months. Yep, another dose, and another dose, and another dose, and another dose, until it becomes like a seasonal flu shot that you're just way more scared about, and the government has better funding for. I mean, maybe that's how this whole thing started. A bunch of pharma CEOs sitting around going, you know what? We have this. How do we get our annual? People aren't taking the annual flu shots anymore. The anti-vaxxers are winning. We need a new virus. We don't want to really hurt people, but let's do something that scares everybody into like really, really, really taking vaccine demand to the next level. And it won't just be annual flu shots. It'll be a whole global round of COVID vaccines. And then it'll be an annual vaccine. You'll have an updater and a booster and blah. Just, yeah. And who knows? I don't mean to say, in terms of what I actually believe in terms of conspiracy here, because there's some crazier conspiracies out there. I shouldn't say crazier, because they're all sort of reasonable. The ones that I've seen that, like, could have come from a lab, could have been released intentionally, manipulated, et cetera, bioengineered. These are all possibilities worth considering. I don't really believe in any of them. I mean, I still believe it is most likely that this virus is a natural phenomenon. That did it come from a wet market in Wuhan, or some the political finger pointing at the beginning of this really was funny to watch, right? Well, no, it came from an American who brought it to China. No, it came from a Chinese wet market where you do this gross thing with animals. Somebody fucked a bat, and then it jumped to people, and then COVID was everywhere because Chinese people are sick and Americans are irresponsible and bad. That's why COVID. And so all of that, bullshit aside, you look at this and you go, well, SARS and MERS and swine flu and bird flu and all these different respiratory viruses. This is this normal part of the human experience that they've convinced us to freak out about this time. And maybe I think maybe this virus is unique enough that it deserves some unique social response. Maybe it deserves a period of distancing or hygiene consciousness. It does not justify in any way whatsoever a forced unemployment crisis, because you have the right to set the level of risk that you want to take on for yourself. Government can't come in and say, no, you're not allowed to work because this other threat is out there. You want to face the threat, that's your decision. The economic manipulation by government, the propaganda, the manipulation of the data, the pushing of these vaccines, none of that is justified. But is it possible that a vaccine for this might be a thing that people would want? I mean, there's a legitimate market for flu vaccine. Some people would argue about its legitimacy, and I wouldn't pretend for a second that government isn't involved with that in many, many ways. But there could be a sort of rational response to a new virus in the global human petri dish. But this is not it. And there's definitely a lot of manipulation around this. That just, at very least, I got to emphasize the conclusion here. Just if you're considering getting the vaccine at all, please just wait until we know more. Wait until you see some long-term effect. Wait until just we have the better one. Like how many competing vaccines are there out there right now? 5 or 6. I mean, at least. Probably dozens around the world of different brands or versions of vaccines for this. Why not wait? Why not wait till you get the one that doesn't come with the risk of infertility or blood clots or death or other just regular vaccine side effects. If you think it's a good idea, if it's worth it, I'm not even anti-vaccine. I'm actually very pro-vaccine in concept. But holy shit, are we doing it wrong in so many ways right now? Next, from Reuters, WHO, World Health Organization chief says COVID-19 infection rate approaching highest of pandemic so far. Really? So nothing we've done, nothing you've done so far has worked. Then we're going to stop listening to. I mean, I think this sounds desperate, and it might in some technical statistical way be true that, like, yes, we are the virus, gets out in concentric circles of humanity, and now it's at the peak globally, and then it's going to come down. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, I certainly care about, hey, there's a new virus that, like, unlike swine flu, basically is going to go out everywhere, and every population is going to have it in their, petri dish along with the flu and all the cold bugs and blah, blah, blah. The number of new COVID cases per week has nearly doubled globally over the past 2 months, approaching the highest rate seen so far during the pandemic. The head of the WHO said Friday, cases and deaths are continuing to increase at worrying rates. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said in a really, did they give us someone whose name is intentionally hard to pronounce? Or I guess it's just me. In a briefing focused on Papua New Guinea and the Western Pacific region, he said he was very worried about the potential for a much larger epidemic in Papua New Guinea. They abbreviate that here to PNG, and it was vital the country receive more COVID-19 vaccines as soon as possible. Of course it is. I mean, do we still believe people are just sort of automatically pushing the most expensive and dangerous solution possible to a problem that they haven't even convinced us warrants it yet? The Wall Street Journal, J&J, this is the Johnson & Johnson, privately asked rival COVID-19 vaccine makers to probe clotting risks. Interesting story. AstraZeneca was interested in joining forces to investigate the safety issue and communicate vaccine benefits and risks, but Pfizer and Moderna didn't see the need for group action. Johnson & Johnson privately reached out to COVID-19 vaccine rivals to ask them to join an effort to study the risks of blood clot and speak with one voice about safety, but Pfizer and Moderna declined. And if it's as simple as it reads, and I'm sure it's not, but if this basic narrative is true, it means it just reveals these are not people who give a fuck about your health. They're willing to let their competitors, when they have the resources, apparently, to be a team as a group of corporations taking on this public health crisis. And instead that, basically Pfizer and Moderna told Johnson & Johnson, you know what, you're on your own. You think maybe your vaccine is going to cause blood clots, and if that's the case, we don't really care to help you stop it. We'd rather see you hurt people and lose business. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like that has to be some part of their rationale here. Pfizer and Moderna executives declined the offer, saying their vaccines appeared safe. The pair also objected because they didn't see the need to duplicate the efforts of regulators and companies already looking for blood clot cases and investigating the cause. One company is concerned the safety of the Pfizer and Moderna shots could be tarnished by association. Yeah, that's it. But they knew. I mean, they knew. Even Johnson & Johnson knew that there was a risk of this. And they still put it out there. And, only as far as we know, at least only one person has died. 7 women have experienced serious blood clotting issues. But I'm still more concerned about the viral shedding issue and long-term fertility effects potentially from these vaccines. And I know maybe these are all groundless concerns, but I don't see a reason for someone like me to take the vaccine anyway. I'd rather be exposed to the virus. But even then, they're going to say that's not good enough either, because there's going to be a mutation. So the only way to be sure is to get your regular vaccines as we update them every 6 months or every year. Get your annual COVID shots. Oh, but even then, that's not quite enough because you might be shedding the virus, in a way that the virus RNA, in a way that could get to affect people who haven't had the vaccine or don't have the vaccine that covers your new mutation. So you really just have to bow down and submit to this new medical tyranny forever. And they're not going to get away with that narrative. Like it's circular logic. There are no holes in it. There are too many holes in this whole narrative, like just all over the place. Where you go, and I think it's wearing thin. Again, the better narrative about lockdowns and shutdowns easing or going away in the United States is not, oh, our wise overlords decided that it was safe for us to go outside again, but that they realized they couldn't keep the charade going any longer. Reuters with our next headline, dire need of beds, oxygen, India's capital under siege from COVID-19. India COVID daily cases above 200,000 for fourth straight day. Capital city New Delhi facing acute shortage of beds. Criticism rising against PM Modi for not doing enough. Opposition parties slam Modi for election rally. Adds doctor comments, details on rallies. But yeah, enough fear mongering from India. To Fiji next. Fiji via sbs.com.au. Fiji orders cities into lockdown over first case of COVID-19 community transmission in over a year. Fiji has ordered Nadi and Lautoka into lockdown after the Pacific Island nation records first case of community transmission of COVID-19 in 12 months. I wonder, why do they not have a case of transmission in 12 months? Oh, they must have run out of tests. Fiji ordered two of its largest cities in lockdown Monday after the Pacific Island nation recorded its first case of COVID-19 community transmission in 12 months. Yeah. Health authorities said the case was a 53-year-old woman who was a close contact of a soldier who contracted the virus at a quarantine facility in Nadi. To aid rapid contact tracing and reduce the likelihood of further transmission, we are announcing a lockdown of the greater Nadi and Lautoka area starting from 4 a.m. this morning, the health department said in a statement. Next, we go to CNBC.com. Chile has one of the world's best vaccination rates. COVID is surging there anyway. See how that works? Beatings will continue until morale improves. Chile has endured a sharp uptick in COVID infections in recent weeks, even with its world-renowned vaccine rollout and strict lockdowns in place. World-renowned. A study published by the University of Chile earlier this month reported that CoronaVac was 56.5% effective 2 weeks after the second doses were administered in the country. Crucially, however, they also reported that one dose was only 3% effective.
3?
Wasn't it like year before last, they said the flu shots in the U.S. were only 10% effective, and they were still pushing them at Walgreens, and you're like, that's what this is going to turn into.
Big gamble.
Okay, but 56.5% effective. I don't want to say that's nothing, but you know what's probably also 56.5% effective? Exercise, going outside, having a healthy social life and sex life, and just no shit. Like, yeah, no, gotta get the vaccine, gotta have the medical answer. As Carissa Etienne, director of PAHO, is quoted in the story, I cannot stress this enough for most countries. Vaccines are not going to stop this wave of the pandemic, but we'll do them anyway because it gives us an excuse to spend millions of dollars through our friends on vaccines. Now, what happened? Did you turn on your internet? Because now I'm on yours. It's not connected. I got to go back to mine. All right, let's see. All right, so next we go to jpost.com, the Jerusalem Post. Independence Day on the vaccine. The role of coronavirus vaccine in Israel's Independence Day. So, that was a link ahead. So, Jerusalem Post, why the Indian COVID mutations should worry Israelis. This is again all of the tribalistic, ethno-different fears that we can possibly gin up. Viruses are great breeding grounds for this because it's those dirty foreigners with their viruses that we got to keep out, right? See how that plays into so much statism, nationalism, tribalism, the fear of the other. So the Indian variant is a double mutation. One aspect of it appears to make the virus more infectious. And I hate to say, I don't really get to say I told you so, but like, yeah, we talked about this a year ago. Remember, the normal course of viruses like this in their mutations is that they become more viral and less deadly, because the versions of them that are able to spread more without killing their host, without triggering some crazy reaction of an intelligent species to isolate or whatever response to prevent their transmission, they're more. This is why HPV, and we compared that for a number of dynamics to COVID from the beginning, the way statistics were being manipulated. Remember, it's like, well, it was 90% of sexually active Americans have or have had HPV at some point. And if you die, a lot of them have it when they died. If you counted every died with as died from, you'd be like, holy shit, millions of Americans died from HPV. And it's like, yeah, kind of similar distortion of the data when it comes to COVID. But now, this is, I guess the I told you so I get here is they're going to use this to keep scaring us. I can't say I predicted that it would be over a year later they'd still be pulling this shit. But yeah, it kind of makes sense that they're going to stretch out this racket as long as the right people are getting their beaks wet. So, should the 7 cases of the Indian variant identified at Ben Gurion Airport worry Israel? On Sunday, citizens removed their masks in outdoor settings, but in other countries, even where vaccination campaigns have reached similar levels, cases are surging, driven in part by new hyper-infectious variants. I got to think the people who kind of set up this whole thing, and they knew that, hey, we're going to be able to milk this. Like, if we set this up right, we're going to be able to scare people about Corona, even when it goes through its phases of becoming the, like, benign version. I mean, it's not benign enough to begin with, right? When it gets to the more viral mutations, all we have to say is more viral mutations, and people will be automatically scared and submissive already. From Bloomberg, MSN.com, Turkey daily virus deaths hit record even after new measures. And it's like, how many headlines like this are you going to see before the next new measures just get the big finger? Turkey reported 318 fatalities from the virus Sunday, a 10% rise from the previous day, highest figure since the start of the pandemic. As the number of new cases continues to hover among the highest in the world, an expert warned about the surge in the number of critically ill younger people. So Sunday's death toll raised total fatalities to 35,926, official data show. If you believe government, social distancing measures announced on April 13 have started to decrease the speed of the increase. Health Minister Faratin Koka said in a tweet, however, the nation ranks as the 3rd in the number of days. By the way, someday somebody is going to put together a video of me hilariously mispronouncing foreign names and make me look like a xenophobic asshole that I'm not. But I have fun trying to read all these foreign names out loud, and I know that I'm getting most of them wrong. However, the nation ranks as the 3rd in the number of daily cases, behind India and Brazil, whose populations are far larger than Turkey's 84 million. So yeah, your shit didn't work. The virus doesn't care about your lockdown measures. Yeah, told you so. Wall Street Journal, first dose of Chinese COVID-19 vaccine offers little protection, Chile learns. The country vaccinated at record clip with shots developed by China's Sinovac, then cases and deaths rose. Health experts say Chile dropped precautions too soon. Yeah, it's a combination. So you got to take tyranny from the left hand and the right hand. It's both lockdowns and shutdowns and mask mandates and vaccines. You got to do both. Otherwise, and you got to do both at an impossible standard that we can never achieve. Otherwise, the COVID virus is going to keep going, and we're just going to have to keep ratcheting up all these policies. So this is the one in the earlier story we mentioned was just 56.5% effective, right? From CBSNews.com, Moderna plans to have 3rd vaccine booster shot ready by fall. Yeah. Wait, did we cover this with another story? Apologize if that's repeating. But we have another, before we get to the COVIDnomics part of the blog, we have one mental health story that I thought was more important to include in the COVID block than the mental health block. We do have a COVID mental health story in the mental health block. But first, medical news today. You'll see why I'm covering this as part of the main COVID blog. COVID-19, 1 in 3 diagnosed with brain or mental health condition. A study suggests that in the United States in 2020, around a third of COVID-19 survivors are diagnosed with a neurological or mental health condition within 6 months of their COVID-19 diagnoses. Anxiety and mood disorders were the most common diagnoses. Neurological conditions such as stroke and dementia occurred less often, but were more common among people with severe COVID-19. The overall effect of these disorders, many of which are chronic, may be substantial for health and social care systems due to the scale of the pandemic. Now, I'm just going to burst this bubble of bullshit really quick here, because first off, what's your baseline? How many Americans are diagnosed with neurological or mental health conditions over a 6-month period anyway, right? So you got one, you got to subtract the baseline. Then you got to subtract the biases of the population you're looking at. People who had diagnoses of COVID-19, people who had severe COVID-19, who were those people? Elderly, unfit, obese, and hypochondriacs. You think in that population there's going to be a higher incidence of these kinds of mental health disorders? I mean, I just sympathy for obese people or unfit people. It's a deficiency of self-love, ultimately. Right now, getting old, it's just because God hates you. But if you're unhealthy at a young age, there's something, aside from misfortune or genetic whatever. Why do people eat themselves to death? It's not because they're having such a great time and life is awesome and they love themselves. So you think people who you think maybe anxiety and mood disorders might trend a little higher among the obese population anyway? Yeah. So again, there's still this there. I just had to cover this because this seems like a new hallmark of the fear-mongering propaganda about COVID right now. Like, well, it's the long-term effects of COVID that we don't know about. It's like, I'm saying the same exact thing about the vaccine, and you guys are still pushing the vaccine on everybody. Oh, well, the COVID vaccine is safe. It really only kills, 1% of people who take it. So it's just as bad as the virus? Like, they don't except that you're just doing it to yourself? Like, oh my God. But just the lack of perspective and ability to even, look at this data properly. So much of the data that I've seen over the last year covered with the mainstream media has been this kind of distortion. But here's one that I don't think is being distorted from studyfinds.org before we as our transition into COVIDnomics, doing laundry. Highlight of the week for a third of Americans beyond bored from pandemic isolation. This is April 16, 2021. This is not like from May of last year. Many Americans are sorting their clothes, packing their bags, and can't wait to go to the laundromat. A new study finds things some considered mundane before the pandemic are now becoming the highlights of our weeks. Can we factor this cost into the lockdowns and just radically reduce quality of life? It's so bad that now doing laundry is the highlight of your week. And I would challenge people, for me, I don't want to pretend that I'm not affected by this, but, Joey and Pat here know, like, is my daily life different because of COVID? No, it's still fucking awesome. We're able to, and in a rural community like this, we're not affected the same way, at least, as people in cities or really dense suburban communities even. A survey of 2005 Americans discovered nearly a third, 32%, say the simple chore of doing laundry has become the highlight of their entire week. 69% say that after spending so much time indoors, any new experience at all feels like a thrill. Adventure bar solo, grocery shopping, and getting gas are weekly joys for folks. The study, conducted by One Poll in conjunction with Apple Vacations and Secrets Resorts and Spas, examined just how cooped up people have been over the past year during COVID. Researchers find 44% say grocery shopping is now a surprisingly exciting moment in their lives. 35% admit that filling up their gas tank now gives them a thrill like never before. The desire to find a sense of escape. These people need drugs. The desire to find I mean,
Lots of them.
Real life physical activity, drugs, chores, like kind of in that order going down, right? But if you're gonna be, it's like if I turn to the saying though. I think my mom used to use this on me. You know where I'm going with this?
I don't.
Only boring people get bored. And it was sort of a challenge, and I took it seriously. Like, okay, well, I'm not a boring person. What's interesting about me? And next thing you know, I'm not bored anymore. But so many people came to rely on external forces, factors, people around them, or opportunities that have been taken away to have any sense of self-direction in their lives, that without that, they're fucking boring people. And I hate to make that sound like, hey, fuck you, average American, you're boring. But like, sometimes the truth hurts, and it's not the average American. It's only this 32%, but 44% say grocery shopping is now a surprisingly exciting moment in their lives. Like, really? You get to do like, and I'd like to think this is the chance for the Adam versus the Man audience to gloat, because I'm not talking to y'all. Everybody who's listening to me has probably found way more interesting things to do. If they're just listening to this, at least this has got to be. I would hope listening to Adam versus the Man 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, even if you're one of our most loyal viewers or listeners, has got to be more fun than doing laundry.
Totally.
Right? Like. It's pretty easy, and I hope. By the way, I hope if this is your video or audio entertainment for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, that you're doing a lot of other shit away from the screen with your time. That's always been a big part of our message here, right? To have that kind of balance. But now, the desire to find a sense of escapism during this time is important for many. In fact, 59% of respondents say they're at the end of their ropes due to ongoing isolation. As a result, 62% add that since March 2020, what they want out of a real vacation has shifted significantly. As soon as people feel safe to travel, 56% say they will go on the longest vacation of their entire lives. Time to set up some hip camping here, isn't it? 2 in 3 people cannot wait to experience new sights and sounds in person again. Americans are so desperate to get away, they're willing to shell out big bucks in order to do so. Researchers find that the average American is willing to spend nearly $7,000 just to finally get the chance to travel again. Do people want, because, here in Gardenia, by decree of the king, COVID is banned. It's illegal. Just possession of COVID, existence of COVID, sales, distribution of COVID, illegal, banned. If any of the cops here smell COVID on you, we have a story about dogs smelling COVID. That's not a joke about dogs being as bad as cops. Don't get sorry, dogs. I didn't mean to offend you. But in Gardenia, COVID is just, it's not a thing because it's illegal. So if people are looking for like COVID-free vacation experiences, we can definitely find a way to offer that here.
Can accommodate.
Yeah. All right, but now we get into the bad news of COVIDnomics. The Wall Street Journal, COVID-19's toll on U.S. business, 200,000 extra closures in pandemic's first year. Federal Reserve economists suggest small business failures due to coronavirus pandemic were fewer than some predict. Oh, isn't that nice? The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, employers are hiring again, but struggling to find workers. Chris New said he has turned down $250,000 in business because he just can't hire enough laborers and drivers at his Carrollton-based company, Barnes Van Lines. There are plenty of people without jobs, but unemployment benefits give them too much incentive not to work, he said. We advertise and nobody comes in looking for a job. A lot of people are taking advantage of the system. It's really killing us. After previous recessions, unemployed workers would pour off the sidelines to jostle for jobs. Not this time, at least not yet. Experts say the reasons are complicated. Heightened federal unemployment benefits play a role. Many parents also need to be home with children, and many fear a still spreading virus that has killed more than 17,000 in Georgia. Many of the unemployed are from sectors not yet hiring or businesses that have not reopened and their skills don't fit job openings. But no doubt There's a discord between, you can't drive, yeah, right. But no doubt there's a discord between the estimated 400,000 Georgians receiving jobless benefits and the surge in job openings that are going unfilled. The state's Department of Labor website listed 98,101 job openings in July, compared with about 220,000 now. Told you. And this is one of those things where, as a libertarian, you go, well, if you do this, this is going to happen, right? Is that an unintended consequence? Because I'm not some genius wizard with a magic crystal ball that can see the future. But when you subsidize unemployment, you're going to get more unemployment. No shit, right? Reuters exclusive, fearing foreclosure crisis, U.S. watchdog cracks down on mortgage servicers. The U.S. Consumer Watchdog is scrutinizing mortgage servicers' compliance with pandemic relief programs amid concerns struggling homeowners are not getting the help they need to avoid foreclosures or are being discriminated against, said a dozen people with knowledge of the regulatory effort. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, cracked down by its policy, supervision, and enforcement divisions, could result in stiff penalties for those mortgage servicers found to have hurt borrowers. So just more stuff playing out in the real estate crisis following the forced unemployment crisis, which gets us to our next story from the Washington Post at sfgate.com. 2 blocks from the Federal Reserve, a growing encampment of the homeless grips the economy's most powerful person. As he drove past the intersection of 21st and E Streets in Northwest Washington, a 68-year-old man peered through the window, struck by an encampment of homeless people here that grew from 10 tents to 20 in the past year, then 30, now 40. The people living in those tents had no idea that their burgeoning village kept this man, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, up at night, or that he kept thinking about them as he drove 2 blocks south to his office. Powell doesn't know their names or backstories either, but what he saw was clear. A visceral reminder of the uneven economic recovery right there in the Fed's shadow. And this story, it wants you to think of Jerome Powell, like the head of an important wing of this criminal gang, as being sympathetic to its victims because they're right there on its doorstep. But nothing could be further from the truth. And this next story really underscores no good deed going unpunished. From the Associated Press, pandemic Good Samaritan faces hefty tax bill for his efforts. A Connecticut middle school teacher who raised $41,000 to help hundreds of his struggling neighbors during the COVID-19 pandemic got an unwelcome surprise for his charitable efforts. A form stating he could owe $16,031 in income taxes. Louis Goffinet, 27, of Mansfield, began picking up groceries for elderly neighbors afraid to go to the store during the early days of the pandemic, often spending his own money. Given the great need, he later organized 2 fundraisers on Facebook over a year and helped hundreds of families with groceries, rent money, and holiday gifts. The Hartford Courant reported, setting a $200 limit. Goffinet said both financial support for his efforts and demand for assistance ended up becoming higher than he first expected. He tracked 140 grocery trips on a spreadsheet, noting he also provided Friday night dinners to 125 families, holiday gift cards for 20 families so they could buy gifts for their children, 31 Thanksgiving dinners, and rental assistance to 5 families. Some local businesses donated food. He said, quote, "It became dramatically bigger than I thought. My original goal was to raise $200 to help one family with groceries. I was already doubting myself when I set that up, that people in town are not going to want to pay for someone else's groceries." In January, Facebook sent Goffinet a 1099 form that said he owed taxes on the money he had raised. Facebook warns users that money generated from a fundraiser on the social media platform may be taxable if more than $20,000 is raised, and that a 1099 tax form will be issued. As he said, "I was so shocked when I think about the mental spot I was in at the end of January, coming off a second fundraiser. It was quite a lot of work, busy weekends, coordinating Thanksgiving, holiday gifts. To get what I perceived as a bill in the mail for $16,000 was just shocking." Goffinet is now working with a local accountant to determine how best to handle the situation. His bill is due May 17, and he expects to pay some sort of tax burden, but isn't sure exactly how much. Meanwhile, Some people in the community are now trying to help him out with the tax bill, so far sending 2,000 checks to a post office box, not through Facebook. That's funny, but really, that's the not, hey, fuck you, government. We raised this money to pay for charity, and now you're gonna no. It's, oh well, let's hurry to help this man pay off the government. Wow, yeah, government doing everything they can to discourage successful charity. Now, I told you we're getting more and more depressing. The New York Intelligencer from NewYorkMag.com, the Forever Maskers. Robin Argenti cannot yet envision a future in which he doesn't wear a mask. We don't know if it is going to ever be over, the 57-year-old resident of upstate New York said of the pandemic. She's in poor health and concerned with the emergence of new variants and the millions of people who refuse to get vaccinated. The country will never actually overcome the coronavirus. I will be masked up for many, many years, he said. There are too many unknowns. As more and more Americans get vaccinated, the end of the pandemic feels palpable. Most people probably cannot wait to cut out the social distancing and take their masks off. I can't wait for the day when I can walk down the street and look at a sea of strangers' naked faces. That's what we're calling them now? Not faces, naked faces. Okay. But there's some people like Argenti who say they plan to make mask wearing a part of daily life, even after the authorities give the thumbs up to bare your entire face. And this is sort of like, I just want to point out that this is not unexpected. I'm not surprised by this. As with every fear-based government racket, there's some for whom the fear is persistent. I'll use militarism as an example. There's still enough Americans scared of the Russians in the Cold War, from the Cold War propaganda, that now Russian interference in the election is something they can raise as a threat of interference, right? Militarism more broadly, 9/11, the threat of terrorism. After 9/11, a lot of Americans got very militaristic, rallying around George W., right? We're going to get the people responsible for this. We're going to bomb the Middle East till it turns to glass. Yeah, we're going to nuke it. We're going to nuke the Middle East flat, and they will never threaten Americans again. And then years pass, decades-long wars go by, and most Americans have let the fear go and go, oh yeah, and realize that the effects of these wars have been the death of just a scale more, an embarrassing scale more deaths than resulted from 9/11. Millions dead in the Middle East versus the exaggerated 3,000 killed on 9/11, right? And so there's still some Americans who are like, yeah, go. I support the troops, yellow ribbons, no matter what, red, white, and blue. Oh yeah, my country, right or wrong. Screw those Arabs and dune coons and camel jockeys. No, we're gonna get the Middle East. We're gonna bomb them into some. There's still some Americans who talk like that. And I was pretty close myself for a while when I volunteered to go, but we get over that fear. And so now with the health threat, with this, it is a sad thing that they have injected into this last phase of the beautiful human experience, perhaps, before we get to the next level of human existence, where we're bioengineered and have the cure to everything, and none of this is even an issue because we're at the next level of technology where maybe we're even uploading our brains into robots, or we're remote controlling robots with brains and in jars in a lab somewhere. This is actually already becoming a thing. We'll get to that story later today. But this is a thing. There are people who are going to be wearing a mask in public forever, who are just like, well, I don't know. What can I get? All right. So now, finally, I told you we're going to end with sort of a good story, but it's just a reminder that dogs are better than people because dogs aren't afraid of coronavirus. The Jerusalem Post has this headline: dogs can sniff out positive coronavirus samples with 96% accuracy. That's right. The use of sniffer dogs to detect COVID is not new, but this method is particularly unique. Soon enough, we may be seeing sniffer dogs at every airport to allow for travel amid the pandemic. If we ever get things low enough to actually start banning people by dog sniff tests, things are going to get very, very interesting. Where this goes from here, I am pretty confident in the overall predictions that this will fade into the background, but how and when and with what severity exactly before we get to the next big government fear-mongering racket post-COVID, I don't know. But for now, for both that potential anxiety and the virus itself, I'll just take my COVID vitamins and keep giving out misleading medical advice every week on Adam versus the Man. Who's winning? Adam versus the Rona? I think I'm doing pretty good. All right, let's get Mercedes back up here on stage to talk about Mental Health Monday. Let's see, I think we got 5 stories, Mercedes. I want to tease all of these first. We got medical news today, what to know about sexual orientation and mental health in youth. Mental health series art therapy kits from University of Arkansas. Why are half of U.S. kids with mental health issues not getting treatment from U.S. News? Too much sitting could hurt your mental health. Geez.
They're kind of like, for us, here's what you and I need to remember.
And then finally, we're going to end the Mental Health Monday vlog with exercise and mental health during COVID-19.
Yes.
To bring it back to that. Sorry, back to you. This is your vlog.
Well, kind of. We share this vlog. So what we need to remember is that you and I are very woke when it comes to mental health. So when we have these simple stories, to us, they're like, okay, yeah, duh, that's a no-brainer. We know that. But we got to remember, America is not woke when it comes to mental health and how to properly communicate about such things. And we need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, even then, Mercedes, the failures that we experience as human beings in mental health are often very easily preventable with a little awareness and just friendly reminders. We talk a lot about, diet and exercise in general, and it's not like, oh, well, you're discovering that if you want to lose weight, eat less and exercise more. No shit. But no, just reminding people of that and being positive and encouraging people, maintaining that self-awareness, that physical awareness, that health awareness is helpful. I mean, sometimes when I fall off the wagon for a little while, I'll turn on Instagram and see pictures of bodybuilders and be like, shit, I kind of used to look like that. All right, I'm getting off your ass. And it's just that positive health culture. And one of the beautiful things I see in this transition that humanity is experiencing right now is an increased mental health awareness overall and overcoming of stigma that is similar to our sort of leveling up to the way society at least is comfortable talking about physical.
Yes, awareness and all of those things. The history of mental health, if you look into it, is very dark. It's very much a contributor to why people don't talk about their mental health issues, especially as a woman. Because my favorite joke is that I need a lobotomy. Okay, and then people go, "What's a lobotomy?" Okay, go Google what a lobotomy is, okay? And that's how I engage in people and mental health, because when people ask me, how are you doing today? I usually say, well, I'm not dead, because I have that dark humor of mental health and the stigma of suicides and all that stuff. So the way I engage in community, and we were talking about this a few weeks ago, is like part of my mental health activism is having these pearl clutching, triggering conversations with the general population in inappropriate circumstances, like at the grocery store. But it's something that we need to talk about. A lot of people aren't aware that your mental health is generational. It's handed down to you. Your coping mechanisms are hereditary. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And it's true, because it's learned behavior. Your mental health and how you cope is learned behavior. So first story, shall we?
No, and I want a quick note on that before we get into this first one. That learned behavior is very important, and it's in a sort of nature versus nurture thing. It's both.
Yep.
Do you have a genetic proclivity to depression or anxiety or things like that? Or is it because you were raised by parents that experienced those and they passed on shitty habits?
Like
You know, are they
narcissistic tendencies and behaviors. Are you a narcissist, or are you a victim who has adopted those toxic traits to survive the
or is it just
circumstances
that
that you're in?
you learn as a child, we learn mental habits from the adults that were around. And I want to thank my parents for not being super woke and conscious and deliberate about this, but for being generally positive people and raising me with things like, well, only boring people get bored.
Yeah,
So
see, like
don't
my mom's like,
bore
if you're
me. And
bored,
it's
go
like,
find something to do,
yeah,
go clean
that,
something. Like, you shouldn't be bored. Be interested, like you said, be
yeah.
interesting. I play
No,
11
I
instruments
didn't
and
take that. Yeah, I didn't take that as an
no.
insult. It was, as a kid, that
Yeah,
was always a positive, encouraging
see, and that's
challenge.
that's just it, is that it depends on how your parents approached your parenting, because there are different parenting styles. Oh my gosh. So my husband and I have completely different parenting styles when it comes to our child. I mean, 100% different. So let me just tell you, because it's just be like that. I can't even articulate the mom. The mom's just, it's just there right now. So yeah. And I don't know what she's doing. She's in my bedroom. You talk, I can listen. I'll be the disembodied voice in your head while we go through these news stories. How's that?
Okay, so what to know about sexual orientation and mental health in youth. Young people within the LGBTQIA plus, very inclusive acronym there, communities are more likely to experience challenges with their mental health. This is largely due to the oppression and discrimination they may encounter at school, at home, and in their wider community. Now, there's the inherent thing to recognize with this, right, Mercedes, that if you find yourself as a functional minority, a sexual minority, and it's technically we all are, but in a true minority outside of the cisgender norms, that unless you're just raised in a perfect, loving environment that encourages you to have a healthy sense of ego and self
See,
acceptance,
and I
there's
had
going to
this
be challenges with that. Whoa, hello.
So, and that's just it, is that I have this experience in my family as a kid, because I graduated in 2009. And in 2009, that was really when LGBT was really like really fighting for what we believed in. Because thank you. My sister is transgender, and when she was growing up, there wasn't a word for transgender. There wasn't any acceptance for transgender. We had to learn with her how she felt. She went to therapy. We had these open conversations. She was able, at least in our mom's household. My mom's the anarchist, fuck the patriarch person. Thank you. I love and hate my mother because she is an authoritarian, but she is an anarchist. It's very, very interesting. But like my sister did grow up in this supportive household where we talk about mental health, and we address what's going on, and we are aware that we are projecting, and we have that innate mental health survival tactics because our family generations ago had suicide. And we, at that point, the elders decided that, hey, we need to change something. So like in my husband's family, their generational suicide, it was his father. So now his family's going through what my family went through a couple generations ago. And the same evolution of their mental health and awareness and why this happens and why people take their lives. Because I knew we were going to get into suicide. So I'll just do that now. So being affected by all of these things, hold on, I need to edit this quick. Being that I've been touched by all of these things personally, suicide, transgenders, the evolution of what's going on. So when it comes to sexual identity and adolescents, we'll say adolescents, that's a more proper term than kids, because the people we're talking about are not children. They are adolescents. They are aware of themselves as they are because they're still learning. Okay, their awareness depends on how aware you are around them. So like in our case, we had that open dialogue. We talked about reproduction. My sister, we told her, like, yeah, they are still children, but they're adolescents. They're young adults here. It's seeing it's their body, their choice. And that's true. So like with my sister, we let her discover what she wanted to do in a safe environment, so she wasn't out on the streets or just gonna fucking kill herself as a teenager, because our teen suicides rate here in my city are astronomical because we don't have that support. I don't know what it is that we don't have enough bodies in the system to help the system work properly. The system won't work if we don't have people in the system that are good people that can help solve the problems. If all the good people quit because of all the bad people, then the bad people get to take over the thing and be in charge. So, like, when it comes to sexuality and adolescence, we as adults need to remember not to sexualize them. We as adults need to take our personal opinions about what's going on and remove it, because they don't matter. We're trying to guide this person through their lives so that they can be happy. So we as a family had those discussions because it does affect us. Like my sister, oh yeah, did you get all dirty? Weird how that works. So like me as my sister and our family, we talked about that because reproduction like is important, survival of the human race. It's a genetic thing that we all are innately or not. There are some people that don't want to reproduce, and that's condoms. Thank you. So
no, those people get their tubes snipped or tied.
See, but that's just it. The medical field won't let women get their tubes snipped unless they've had children, are married, or are a certain age. So they're preventing us from having our own rights and our reproductive healths.
Wait, really? Hold on.
Oh yeah. You didn't know that? Like doctors will deny it.
If you're an 18-year-old woman,
they won't let you tube your ties. You're too young. You don't know what you want.
If you're an 18-year-old man and you want to get a vasectomy,
that's fine because it's reversible. It's not permanent.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's the difference.
But also, females are the catalyst for life. Why would you want to get rid of your ability to give birth? Because it's fucking terrible. You want to see my stomach? Go to OnlyFans. You can see my stomach there.
I just want to elaborate on that in defense of women's right to make that decision, and we shouldn't have to defend the reasoning to say, yeah, you have the right, it's your body, your choice. But that a woman might say, I would rather have sex without worrying about getting pregnant than.
But there are also things that women go through,
and I'm willing to do that to my body, or I have some genetic predisposition that makes me afraid to have kids, or
having a kid will kill me because of this disease I have.
Yes, exactly. So like it would be irresponsible for me to have kids, which means that I basically can't have sex as long as the threat of pregnancy is there. Take away the threat, let me enjoy sex, or at least a normal, healthy life.
Matt just said he had to shop around to get him getting fixed. So that is the first. And Nebraska is really easy to get. Yeah, and Nebraska is real easy to get snipped. But right now there's a population decline, so they're going to make it as hard as possible to not have kids, because if we don't have kids,
for the rest of our audience, that's not. We know who that Matt is. That's credible Matt. That's not
our
someone trolling.
No, he's a friend. No, but that's just it. Is they're making it as hard as possible right now, in my opinion, to be able not to have children, because we in America are in a population decline. Like China has the 2-kid rule, 1-kid rule. America needs bodies because there were more boomers than there are us.
So Mercedes, I don't disagree with your point at all that there are people in the super class who are thinking that way, but the question is which force is more dominant, because even globally there are certain people in the super class who want to limit population as a whole, while at the same time
that side as well.
Programs subsidize parenting and generally encourage it, right?
We just need to stop enabling the system that is currently in working order right now by removing ourselves from the system and just wait a second. This could be, hold on, let me gather before I go any further. What we need to do as local communities is be involved in how our communities are working when it comes to these kinds of things so that we have the most say.
Okay, so Mercedes, I want to say one more thing about the LGBTQIA plus community, and I think GSM.
And that's why we're going to GSM. Yes, that's. I was just going to say that's why we're going there.
Thank you, Mike Shipley, for introducing me to that term. But in this case, there are inherent challenges. I just want to separate that there are things that like you kind of can't do anything about. If someone is just even gay and goes, oh, I have anxiety about this, that's an internal thing. But if they're feeling that anxiety because of oppression, discrimination, encounter at school, home, wider community, that is something that we all have a role to play in just kind of stomping out the bullshit around that. And I think it's happening. I mean, and I think there's
Oh yeah, it's definitely getting better.
This is sort of setting the stage for a broader human sexual revolution of just kind of getting real with shit, where it's like, oh yeah, some people are gay, some people are lesbian, some people like having their nuts tickled, some people, it's like, well, this is all just the beautiful cornucopia of human sexuality, and we can kind of remove our own hangups from how we talk to other people, right?
Moose Girl's just on fire today, which is why she won that comment contest last time I was on. But yes.
So
Adam,
to the next headline, you shared this University of Arkansas mental health series, art therapy kits.
Yes.
Why do you think this is important?
Because coloring relieves stress. Like our bowling coach in high school, because surprise, I founded the bowling club in high school and was competitive in bowling. Weird, it's like I'm a nerd or something. We would bring coloring books and we would color in between our sets if we were getting anxious, because if you're going to bowl a consistent game, you have to stay in the zone. You have to. It's like the Big Lebowski. Got to. So with coloring, they use coloring therapy in children first and foremost. If a child needs therapy, they will do play sessions, and coloring is part of that because they analyze the photos. If you're aware of that, you can analyze your own photos. So I'm not sure what this program is. I'm guessing it's kind of like a toolkit like that where you can color and you get into the psychological aspects of it. Because if you've ever done psychedelics, you know what you want to do when you're on them. But
just a coincidence, we had this whole space here in Gardenia planned for art studios, as you know.
I know, I'm so excited. Anyway, I get to go into the wilderness and nerd out. No, that's just it. I think more communities should do this, because those simple acts, like you talk about boring people liking to go shopping and doing the laundromat and stuff. Those simple acts of daily life, though, are the most enjoyable part of your day. Like me, my favorite part of the day is looking at this. Where is she? Looking at this snoot and booping it when she's sleeping. Like, that's simple. Simple. It's stupid, but it's happy. Anyway, but yeah, that's all I have about the coloring.
All right. Well, I definitely would be an advocate of art therapy, and certainly lament the fact of its decline in most educational systems. Whereas when I was a kid, I think, Mercedes, I'm not supposed to ask your age.
No. Right? You and I are within the same grouping of decade.
Okay. Generationally.
Yes, generationally we were the same, but the difference between you and I is the war in 2001, you were already graduated when Bush declared war. I was 11 October of 2001. So I had the programs that you and I had, and I watched them be defunded in front of my face while I was in them. That's why I wrote the governor as an 11-year-old, and I've been active my entire life. Because they taught me arts, and that's where they defund first. Because if they defund creativity, then they don't have people like you and I talking on the internet trying to use our free thoughts and critical thinking to challenge them.
Way out of their rackets. If you're not creative, it's easier to victimize you.
Think critically and demand evidence, and they don't like it.
Yeah. So I seem to remember as a kid that art was always a big deal, like a big part.
And we had therapy in our classes. Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
39, and I don't think that's nearly as much a thing anymore. And I remember that it was like, yeah, you've got, art and music right next to math and writing, reading and writing, arithmetic, and then art and music was just, it was always some part of it. And for me, it was poetry and silversmithing for the most part in high school, at least at the Native American prep school. And I actually ran a class, like as a tutor, teaching when I was a senior in high school, teaching silversmithing to younger high school students. And I think that really goes in line with our next headline. You know, we have a decline in art and music in school overall. And I don't know if someone in the audience wants to pull up a link with a more. This sounds like old people ranting, right? And it's like, no, let's get us some statistics to back this up, right? But there used to be more music and art as sort of a normal thing in schools. Now, instead, getting on ADD and ADHD medication is a
They
normal
don't.
thing in schools.
I've watched the school system change because my sibling. I still have siblings in grade school right now, mind you. Okay, I turned 31 this year. My youngest sister is 26 years younger than me, which means that for the last 20, 30, 26 years, I have had children in school in between because I have 15 siblings. I have watched the school system in this country change. Each one of my siblings has a different experience almost. They're using it as a guinea pig because they don't know what they're doing because the organized school has always been an experiment. Nebraska is what really got education going. Hi, we're smart here. We do Arbor Day. Thank you. The college I'm at used to be called the Teachers College. All the teachers used to come to my town to get taught and then go out into the world and educate everybody.
Well, that was the other thing that I think was a lot more prevalent, and maybe I was lucky to be raised in a particularly good school system, but
you also have to remember,
awareness.
But you have to remember who taught us. Were they the Vietnam vets and hippie activists teaching us? Because that's who were teaching us.
This is more of an institutional decline across generations and a generation to generation kind of.
It's almost like if you don't stop wars, your infrastructure in your country starts to fail and your population slowly gets dumber and gets lead poisoning, and then you have a collapse of society. Who
and
taught
fluoride.
us that?
Don't forget the fluoride.
Oh, we fluorinate our water here. That's why none of us got. Thanks. Good teeth.
Yeah, but
that's just it's a slow decline. So if you don't take yourself out of it to objectively look at it on a bigger whole, you're going to miss all these fine nuances, and then you're just going to fight about COVID and masks and whose butthole is whiter.
and the nature experience part of education seems like it was a big deal for me. Maybe it was because I grew up, you know, in a
native awareness
that value that California Bay, San Francisco Bay Area, a lot of beautiful natural resources around, but that's everywhere. There's nowhere on earth you can live and not have nature within driving distance that should be explored and appreciated by children. And
you think that until you move to the coast.
That's definitely hugely on the decline this past year. And so Mercedes, that gets us to the next headline that you found from U.S. News and World Report. Why are half of U.S. kids with mental health issues not getting treatment? And you go,
there it is.
Yeah.
Our future's looking dark.
So the story goes, over half of high-risk children in the United States are not receiving behavioral health services critical to their mental, emotional, and physical well-being, new research warns. So before we get into this specific point, I want to sort of zoom out to the trend of society in child rearing. I think this is why I want to homeschool or unschool my kids.
That's why
I want them to have access to art and music and nature. Like you wrote that out of your bullshit curricula.
So
we're gonna have it here. You know.
So here and how our community does that though is that our public school is only math, science. Okay, it's not only that we have an art. We keep our art shit in our school, but our homeschooling community is huge, and so our school has to be aware. Our school system has to be aware of that because they still want the homeschool kids to come to school for socializing. So they have to make it as appealing as possible to the homeschool kids. I'm going to homeschool Cora. She's only going to go to school to be in the big band, sports if she wants to. And then the sciences and stuff, I can't teach her. But that's how people forget that schools aren't supposed to raise your children. You're supposed to raise your children. But our work life doesn't allow us to raise our own children. So then you put them in daycare and then somebody else raises them. But they can't raise 25 kids alone. So then you have the systematic decline of kids needing mental health access because they're not getting the support system at home.
Well, it's a product of this institutionalization of education that stamps out anything non-conforming. And education is supposed to be customized. And even schools sort of, give lip service to that. but there are something, and it creates this weird tension because there are some things for which communal educational efforts and institutions and organization is appropriate, like band or sports, right? And I think that is one of the sad things that parents are sort of forced to choose in between. If you're homeschooling, well, you might not have access to that. Now, you're lucky in Nebraska, right, where there's a legal framework
are
that
we
has that. That's,
lucky?
as far as I know, that's not. Oh shit. As far as I know, that's not the norm in the United
No,
States.
it's not,
And
and that's just crazy to me.
There's a bigger, failure of parenting, and I have to sort of square this with my general worldview of human progress, right? Is this just like, what is this temporary phenomena in the decline in thoughtful parenting in America? And I think you can trace it to a particular institution of the U.S. federal government's
The feds need to
supervised
get
education system.
So what it is, ready for this? The feds need to get out of the education system because they have already been outed as
Localize it.
Yes, but the feds have already been outed for denuclearizing the black family and incarcerating the black head of household to try to destabilize them. So if you got a single mama who needs childcare to keep her kids off the street, school activities are where they go. So then you invest in your school system. Well, then the feds see that and they're like, oh, we can't have this strong, independent black woman do nothing right. We need to make it as hard as possible for her. Yet she overcomes time and time again. Thank you for that sidebar. But that's just it, is that the government is invested in human trafficking. If they control education and our children, they control the future. If they have control of our children now, you see the steady decline because there hasn't been the father figure and the family's been unbalanced and the state is the daddy. He's the baby daddy and he's like beating the shit out of us. So it's like we need to break up with him. Sorry, Dad. You need rehab. Not my real dad.
Okay. So I want to share the last big quote from one of the study authors in this article. We need to train more people to provide these kinds of services. We need to provide them in more convenient locations like schools and in conjunction with medical practice. We need to package them to make them a little bit less stigmatizing. We need to advertise some of the new procedures and techniques that we have. We need to make sure that the new and particularly the evidence-based services that are most effective are the ones that are being provided and that everybody's trained up in them. And I share that to say that there's someone who is also advocated for the use of arts and exercise to help children deal with depression, anxiety, and trauma. And we have gotten to the point where mental health has reached, I think still overall there's a greater awareness, there's progress, but especially in this past year when there has been a distinct COVID-driven decline that may reverse the overall trend. But even before COVID, we were already at a point where mental health was so neglected that we were capable of doing so much more, that it really needs to be a more holistic approach. It can't just be, oh shit, there are kids in institutions that check this criteria, get more trained therapists. No, there has to be arts and exercise, and there has to be a change in the paradigm. And I think it's happening. I wouldn't say like,
no, it's not hopeless.
We're fighting the tide, or this is hopeless. We're in this kind of with how society raises children and deals with mental health. We're at this weird step backwards, and this weird runaway institutional sort of setback stage that I think we are inevitably overcoming. And it's great to see stories like this that now illuminate it irrefutably.
Yes. Like, I'll use my community, for example, because Nebraska is proving to be the best state during the pandemic without having any lockdowns or government mandated mask mandates on the state level. Local levels we're still allowed to, but Nebraska is a really good place that change doesn't happen very fast here. We're really good control. So when I look at all this in schools and COVID and what's going on, all I can say is we need to smoke weed every day.
Well, not yet. Hold on. Let's make it to the end of the COVID block. We got two more stories. First, about sitting.
Oh
Because you
yeah, what
said
I'm doing right now.
you shared this sciencenewsforstudents.org psychology section. Too much sitting could hurt your mental health. Studies link too much inactivity. You know, it's funny. There's a typo in the subtitle. Studies link too much inactivity with depression and anxiety. Did you catch that? It's supposed to
Yeah,
be
I did.
two with two O's. Wah, wah, wah.
You know, I may be
Apparently, too much
dyslexic.
sitting. Apparently, too much sitting can affect your spelling ability as well. I assume the author of this story did not write it standing up. Kathy Ann Kowalski, thank you for writing this. The COVID-19 pandemic has knocked many people on their butts. Literally, at first, many schools switched to online classes. When some of these schools resumed in-person classes, they cut down on students moving from place to place. Likewise, many companies let people work from home. This means fewer people have been walking to bus stops or roaming around schools or workplaces. People now spend extra time sitting. It's a sort of weird quirk of modern American institutionalized education that you sit down in cemetery row seating and then a bell rings and you walk for 30 seconds to the next class and you sit down and then you get up. But there's actually something good about that. It's just funny how that's regimented into the program. It's more about mind control. But it's actually a good thing for your health to get your education in chunks and have to get up and move in between if you're going to sit for extended periods. And now they're engineering that out of the school system.
They are block schooling. So like when some people have block scheduling where you have 4 classes a day, it's kind of like college. You 4 90-minute, 95-minute periods, whatever. Or you have
they're moving teachers, right, instead of students, so that students don't get up as much.
In some places, I guess, but I hate the system. I don't have anything to add to this other than the more you move, the more endorphins and serotonin and adrenaline your body makes, which are the things that your brain needs to feel good. And if you're not getting enough of that, your brain just produces stress hormones, which is why teenagers, you need the outside, people. We're animals. Stop forgetting it.
Yeah, I know it's funny because like I have this awesome chair in my studio office, like my host chair. It's like I actually won
Is
this.
it the same one that was there before?
Yeah, I think so.
I sat in it then. It's
I have it, and yeah, I know. So this chair, it's like a $400 chair. I never would have bought a $400 chair. I won it at a poker tournament. I was doing an autism fundraiser, and I won it in the raffle. Somebody else donated, so it wasn't like I was taking money away from the charity event I was supporting, right? But I even have another chair here, and my problem is the opposite. I don't spend enough time sitting because I need to get more of my homework done. I have too much awesome shit to play with here in Gardenia. Mercedes knows.
Yeah,
But
it's fun there.
the thing about sitting, it's like the article says, break up your sitting. Just because you meet the current physical activity guidelines does not mean you are not sedentary. And this is really important because we were taught, and this is one of the things, like, as kids, and this is at least we were getting taught this, right? That, you have a recommendation from the government health officials that you need to get 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week or something like that, right?
I'm alive, a little awake, enthusiastic.
But it's not just that, right? Because if you get 30 minutes and then the rest of the time you are sitting still watching television, you're going to fuck up your body. The extended periods of lower circulation are going to have negative effects. This idea of breaking up your sitting, even like if it's the equivalent of going from class to class, I need to start getting up at the end of the show more because I sit here for 3 hours straight. And if I don't get up, I'm like, oh shit, woozy at the end of our meetings afterwards.
So, that's the thing too is since Monday's my day, I'm here. You see me get up because toddler, but generally when you're talking on the interwaves, I am not here. This has been a lot of sitting for me, and as we are talking about this, I'm like, oh, my back hurts. This is so right. Science in real time.
Yeah. So this article covers like why this is an increasing problem and how to be aware of it for yourself. I don't think we need to get into it. This is sort of for kids, and it's great. So great. Again, all the links t.me/Adam versus the Man public Telegram group as always. But with this, just I think for our audience, it's almost like no, really back to super basic shit. But yeah, if you sit for extended periods of time during the day, be conscious of your posture, be conscious of breaking it up, not being sitting in one position for extended periods. breaking it up with not just I'm going to get up and go to the bathroom, but do a little stretching. Like today, I was up early because I went to bed really early last night, and I got up and it was cold in here, and I was too lazy to turn the heater on. No, but I got up after doing like an hour of pre-prep, and I walked outside. I did some sun salutation yoga and a little bit of stretching, and peed outside and came back in. And just little shit like that, I think, makes a huge difference. So just especially now, and I know a lot of our audience, a lot of nerdy INTJ libertarians are inclined to say, well, I'm just going to sit at home and day trade crypto all day and be seated a lot. Like, that's okay. Just be conscious about it. Do it in a healthy way. Invest in a good chair or something that at least doesn't cause other problems for you, and have good habits about it, because extended sedentary time, or just time or hunched over. I mean, this is the new equivalent. I mean, it was cell phone neck. Well, now you're in your home, so you're going to be seated at a laptop or a computer desktop. Next thing you know, it's going to be we're spending too much time in our matrix pods, and get neck cramps from that. But until then, at least be more conscious of your sitting and your phone use. And I'm careful because I'm on my phone a lot. If I go, okay, I'm having phone time, I'm gonna prop my elbows up. I'm gonna put it here, and I'm not gonna do this thing.
Yeah, I get all sorts of just. This is how I lay on the couch when I'm playing on my phone, guys. So when I'm on Facebook and you see me go, this is what I'm doing. Like little fat Cartman. Yeah, but back to, do we have one more story?
We have one more story. Let's do this and then give you a chance to connect everything, because this brings it back to COVID and exercise and mental health. So medical news today, exercise and mental health during COVID-19. Study explores linked trends. The mental health benefits of physical activity have been out of reach for people whose stress and anxiety levels have kept them from exercising during the pandemic, a new study shows. And I want to be sympathetic, but and if you have disruptions in your life, but really there's no excuse for letting yourself go with COVID any more than at any other time, because we all have challenges and stresses and disruptions, and you don't need a gym. You don't need anybody else. And I can say this, I've done it in an 8x10 cell for months. You can work yourself out and get that physical activity.
Got that prison workout down.
Yeah, I've had it in times when I've had access to great gyms, or like recently, I haven't been to the gym for months, and it's not because like here in Arizona, Anytime Fitness is awesome. They don't really care. At least Chino Valley, Anytime Fitness, thumbs up for not doing COVIDnomics, and they just have reminder signs, hygiene, distancing, requests for people to be conscious, but no mandates, none of that bullshit. Not kicking people out, and it's great to live in a community where that's the norm. But even without that, it's because I've been doing manual labor most of the time. But just whatever it is, there's always something to get like that. My mom taught me the 80-20 rule. I remember that. In a lot of situations, you can get 80% of the results with 20% of the effort. Yes. And that's an okay approach to health, to take a 20-80 approach and say, you know what, I don't care about being in optimal health. I just want my body to be healthy. I want to do it as efficiently as possible. I don't want to think about it too much. But you know what? Then you can apply that and say, you know what, I'm going to get most of the way there with about 20% of you can get 80% as healthy as Adam with 20% of the effort Adam and thought Adam puts in, for sure. I wouldn't hold that against you at all.
Definitely encourage people to take baby steps with their mental health, because you literally just need to change one little itty bitty thing to start your mental health journey. Literally just going outside for 10 extra minutes a day, or pick up. Because you can't see what's on my floor with the toddler. Haha.
That gets to the next bullet point in the story. People who have continued to exercise during the pandemic are more likely to be doing it for their mental health than for any other reason. People who are less physically active than usual are experiencing more symptoms of mental health conditions during the pandemic. No shit. This is a big I told you so for us, right, Mercedes?
I don't like saying I told you so, because I I don't get joy out of watching people suffer. If you would just listen to us the first time and do the thing that's healthy, we would.
That's why you say I told you so.
No,
so
I
they
can't.
listen to us for the next time.
I will let you say it, and I'll just sit here and smile.
All right. Well, with that, Mercedes, any final thoughts on Mental Health Monday so we can give you some time to look at comments and collect some comment contest entries? We want nice thoughts about Stephen McClure's fiance, Jennifer, who's working hard for him while he is incarcerated over some bullshit.
My toddler took off her dress, so we have to change the camera. So what I need from everybody right now is
Adam versus the Man is distributing child pornography now.
No, not at all. Nope, that's why the camera got moved. Thank you. We do not do that in this household. Sexualizing children is completely asinine and wrong. And for legal purposes, I will just say you get what you fucking deserve. Let's just keep doing this. Anyway, so what I need from everybody right now. Oh, look, I get to stand up. What I need from everybody right now is to recomment your nice things to Jen because you commented at the beginning. I can't find those comments now because StreamYard is stupid. We're up.
We're not sitting.
We're standing up. We're doing this. See, baby steps. Look at that. Now I have to get a stand-up desk for my office because we're almost done. You can
see that our studio ceiling is still unfinished here.
Yeah. The light. It's fine.
When the studio ceiling is finished, we need more shots like this.
Yeah.
And I can interrupt my 2 hours of sitting straight nonstop for the show every day. We can be like Ellen. Since Ellen's ratings are going down.
Ellen got fired. No, Ellen was canceled. Everybody
dance segments and kittens. All we're missing are the mittens. It's happening. Adam versus the Man is taking over Ellen's audience.
No. Ellen got fired by her audience because they realized how terrible she truly is. So good job. COVID did that for us, though. The nice thing about COVID, it took everybody into their favorite stars' homes and showed them what pieces of shits they are for real. And with that, I need those good vibe Jen comments. You know, we be nice to Jen. Her fiance is in jail right now, and it's a little bit bullshit. And so we need to be nice to her. So the nicest comment to Jen wins. I do remember Anthony. He's already in the Producers Club. He did comment the nicest thing, but he's in the club. So everybody last 9 minutes of the show, all the good vibes to Jen. Winner gets into the club and gets to see the kitten pictures before everybody else.
All right, so we're going to come back to you very briefly at the end of the show, Mercedes. Any other thing before you sign off, though, because we are going to skim through some headlines and let Jim take us home. Just a brief check-in left with you. Since we're coming up on the end of the show.
All I have to say is, fuck Pete Ricketts. Weed does not kill kids, and if you want to keep your misinformation campaign, we're going to have a lot of fun, just like CJ and Christy Nome does. Thank you.
All right. Well, we have a very fun grab bag that we're skimming over today. A lot of this we're going to come back to tomorrow with a fun show featuring Aurea DiMezzo, the trans Satanist anarchist former Republican county sheriff candidate who we interviewed as such, who is now one of the Crypto Six, facing charges along with Nobody, Ian Freeman, and 3 others for their crypto activism in Keene, New Hampshire. But we also have, this whole grab bag. We've got Canadians signaling for help at the American border. We've got, this is a really quick one from Joey in the Producers Club from Daily Mail. U.S. man who legally smoked marijuana in Las Vegas before flying to Dubai, where traces of the drug were found in his system, begs for help after his nightmare arrest and accuses American officials of letting him down. Now, it's as dumb as it sounds, but it's not as scary as it sounds. Smoked pot legally, had a little medical emergency when he was in Dubai because he had pancreatitis or something. Went in at the hospital, they tested him. And because it's Dubai, so they tested him for weed, tested positive. Now he's only facing, it's not that bad. It's like, so he's been there for 2 months waiting to find out if he's being prosecuted. And it's not like, so he's been banned from flying home until prosecutors in the United Arab Emirates decide if he should be charged. Which is just hilarious quirk of the drug war still.
And how long can they hold him? Like,
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, hypothetically, but hold on. They had in the story how much time he was actually facing, and it wasn't. I think it wasn't that much.
It was a year.
It
wasn't.
Could be in residue for up to 2 months. Sorry, I thought I had this in the story. Oh no, what is it? Anyway, whatever it is, it's not like he's gonna get beheaded in the United Arab Emirates for the smallest of possession. But like, this is really dumb. Yeah.
And it's not like they smelled it on his breath in the airport, like the headline kind of suggests.
Yeah, no, and it's more the headache than anything. But it's like, we're still doing this. So okay, so it's a year. He says, I have no idea what's going to happen, whether I'll end up in prison a year or whether I'll be deported. So it's not like he's not even facing. I mean, a year. I hate to say, oh, it's just a year. No, I mean, like, a year of your life is nothing to sneeze at. And it's already been 2 months detained in a foreign country. He was only planning on being in a couple of days. Big deal. So this is, I'm going to say his name. What's the guy's name? Mr. Clark. Businessman. He is identified as businessman Peter Clark in the story. Very generic looking American too. Businessman Peter Clark. 51, legally smoked marijuana before flying to Dubai and being arrested. We got Matthew McConaughey potentially running for governor of Texas. We got a Tesla autopilot crash causing a fire. Little update on the bullshit with the. So okay, I'll just do this one real quick. The Sun, new order, Prince Charles to become quasi-king, but Queen will never abdicate, a royal expert claims. It's like, how much of this would change anybody's life? Different figurehead in the royal family. And really, is this going to change? I just, so many dumb stories about the royals lately.
Try to ignore them.
Big story out of China. China launches new app allowing citizens to report others for mistaken opinions. We're going to get into that. Yeah, Oath Keeper. Active duty cops train militia members for civil war. We've got some cool crypto updates, of course, on Bitcoin as a whole and on Doge. Our producer Jim, very excited about Doge recently. James O'Keefe vowing revenge on CNN and Twitter after ban. Stuff in Russia with Navalny and the troop buildup. By the way, I got a really good analysis I wrote over the weekend about that, where the troop buildup in Ukraine is more about getting Biden to blink and call Putin for a meeting first, and he did. So interesting stuff there. And then more fun stuff in our grab bag we're going to have to get to tomorrow, same time, same bat channel. But for now, take us home with the promos, Jim.
What's going on? I'm kind of sad we didn't get to cover some of those stories that were in our grab bag, like the first one. So yeah, we'll cover it tomorrow. But
Tuesday with Aria.
If you're eager about it, you can always just join t.me/Adam vs. the Man. The link to those stories, that every one of the ones you just described are right there, publicly available. So you have no excuse to not be in the know. Other than that, visit AdamVersusTheMan.com. That website truly has everything you need if you want to be active and engaged. AdamVersusTheMan.com. It's got Patreon. $10 a month will get you access to the private producers club. It's got a link for Cigar Federation, an awesome website that has CBD infused cigars. You can get 10% off using promo code Adam10. And you can shop at the shop at AdamVersusTheMan.com. And all Producers Club members and better patrons get 15% off of everything in our store and free shipping. So it's definitely a good deal. A couple more things I don't want to forget about. The Crypto6.com. Those guys, we have Aria DeMezzo on tomorrow from the Crypto6. So have this website ready to look up and go through as they are talking about it. That will be awesome. Lastly, two more things. One, soon, very soon, likely today, Adam will be posting pictures of the kittens in Gardenia. So you can look at Instagram and search at the Garden of Freedom, and you'll be able to see those once he posts those today. So look forward to that. And lastly, get yourself educated on off-grid living and get yourself a wind turbine by going to gogreenenergyonline.com and educating yourself on all the self-sustaining ways to get yourself off-grid, get yourself self-sustaining.
All right, let's get Mercedes up here for the comment contest winner.
We both clicked the button at the same time again. So I'm going to say Moose Girl wins again because she said the nicest thing. And Anthony's already in the club. And I would say it's You Been 2-Year-Old, and because I'm going to acknowledge his comment because it was really funny, but it isn't helpful, so I'm not going to show it. But I do appreciate that You've Been 2-Year-Old.
I'm gonna Too Unique wrote, Jen, I don't know why I'm commenting.
So
but if you need to hear nice things, then I hope they're all you hear. What? Too Unique commented, Jen, I don't know why I'm commenting, but if you need to hear nice things, then I hope they're all you hear. Be blessed and bless others, and may the sun ever shine upon you. Well said.
So, it wasn't
so let's get Jim up here for our final musical interlude, shall we?
Yes, especially since my child is locked not in the house. She's gone now. She is not in the house. Where's the You Smoke Weed Every Day, Jim? I get to partake today.
Man, I'm slow today, guys. You're just going to have to deal with it.
All right, and with that, for Good News on This Day in History from goodnewsnetwork.org, it was on this day in 1775, the American Revolution began in Massachusetts. At Lexington Common, with the shot heard round the world, of skirmish that gave needed time to the militia at Concord to organize around the North Bridge, where they turned back British troops under heavy rifle fire. And with that, peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.